Welcome to Miss T.L.L, the Tutor English First Additional Language Lessons on YouTube. Please like and subscribe, share the link as we continuously share knowledge and improve our understanding and approach towards answering of various English papers. On today's lesson, we are going to focus primarily on the tips on how to approach a comprehension test. And of course, this is English FAL paper 1. And remember that a comprehension test will always weigh 30 marks. So the bulk of the marks in paper 1 are actually in a comprehension. It is important to note that a comprehension actually means or emanates from the word understand. So it means that we need to read for meaning and critically understand what is that the comprehension talks about in order to be in a position to respond to questions based on a comprehension. Now, I'm going to take you through these tips on the key features of a text that one needs to look into in order to fully comprehend, if not to establish understanding and meaning based on a comprehension passage. Now, the first thing that you need to look into is to assess, if not to study the title. The title of a comprehension should give you an indication of what is that you should expect in a comprehension passage itself. Now, the passage here, and this is the 2021 November NCS grade 12 question paper. Now, rethinking garbage. You start by assessing the word rethinking. If you say adding the prefix re to the word thinking, it means that you must come up with an alternative manner of thinking, if not approaching a particular phenomenon. And that phenomenon that we're talking about here is garbage. So when I think of the word garbage, I think of what? Nothing but waste. Now, the question that should be coming to your mind as a reader is that why is it important for us to rethink about garbage? Why is it important to come up with an alternative way on how to view or approach waste? So the questions that emanate from the curiosity, rather from the title itself, should be answered in the comprehension itself. Now, we also need to assess your own prior knowledge. It means that as a person, there is knowledge that you have before you can even read something. So once you think, for example, by just saying what the word rethink means, what the word garbage means, that is what prior knowledge. It means knowledge that you have prior reading the text that you can seemingly, if not effortlessly, connect it to the concept of the comprehension itself. Now, remember that a comprehension text is a series of paragraphs. We have here paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, up until the last paragraph. Now, all these paragraphs together, they form what you call a comprehension. Now, in each and every paragraph, we have what you call a topic sentence. A topic sentence will be the first sentence of a new paragraph. Now, why it is important to study the topic sentence? Remember, a topic sentence may indicate or give a clear indication of what is that the paragraph is going to unpack. It might be that the topic sentence for paragraph 2 actually continues or sustains the idea that was stipulated in the first passage, in the first paragraph, or paragraph 3 represent another concept, if not another portion of the topic. So it is important to assess also the topic sentence in order to fully understand what the comprehension will talk about. And then setting. A comprehension may mention places. Once it mentions places, it means that it gives you the context. It gives you a place where action took place or where action is taking place. Factual information. When we refer to factual information, we are actually referring to statistics. We are referring to percentages. Now, the main important thing is that a writer will include, if not incorporate, factual information in order to add more credibility to the story, to make the story more believable, to make the comprehension thought-provoking, and to make the reader to actually believe or be convinced by the facts that are presented in a comprehension. And then characters. The mention of characters or names in a comprehension is just to add a human experience, if not a human element in the comprehension. Again, it can also add to the credibility of the comprehension, because once you give a human account towards whatever topic that may be presented or discussed in a comprehension, it makes again the comprehension more believable and more relatable for that matter. at the end of the day, you need to understand the purpose of the text, because everything that is being written has its own purpose. You must understand why. For an example, here, do we need to rethink garbage? Is the purpose of the text going to teach us more about recycling, more about taking care of waste, or saving the planet by taking care of waste? After reading the last paragraph of the passage, you should be in a position to understand the purpose. If you do not understand the purpose, it means that you are defeating the purpose of the comprehension. Another element that you need to look into is the time frame. Whenever they mention the period, such as the year, then it gives us the time frame so that you understand, are we talking about events that happened in the past? For an example, once they mention 1949, you know that the comprehension is actually centered around historical facts. Or are we talking about current issues? If you're talking about 2023, you know definitely that this is the information or something that is happening currently. Or maybe these are future events. So you also need to assess the time frame stipulated in the comprehension. You should be able to infer meaning, to show critical understanding of the text, and in conclusion, based on what? Based on the evidence presented here. Now, when you study the first paragraph, the medals of the Olympic Games were previously made from gold, silver, and bronze obtained from the mines. This is the topic sentence. So what the topic sentence actually introduces in this first paragraph, it is how Olympic medals were actually made previously. And the word previously, again, it gives what? Time frame. Now these are what? Past events, by mentioning what? Previously. So when you read, you become mindful. If not, you take into cognizance the time frame. And then again, now we are going to continuously learn more about other phenomena, if not aspects of things that are recycled. You may be amazed to know that the new Olympics, now take a look. Here we're studying on how previously the medals were made, and then now the writer takes us now into what? The new Olympic medals. It means that we have shifted the time frame from the past events to the current event. You may be amazed to know that the new Olympic medals are made from precious metals recycled from old cell phones. This e-waste may otherwise have clogged up landfill sites. Similarly, you may not realize that your paper towels are actually recycled office documents and cereal boxes, or that the takeaway along from South African hedges are made of plastic bottle stop. And then now the mention of South Africa gives us what? Context, which gives us what? Setting. Remember, as I've alluded earlier on, that it is important to also check about what? Setting. So what we have learned actually from the first paragraph is how the old medals were made and how the new medals were made. And continuously, we continue to know how office documents are made from recycled boxes and also from cell phones. So therefore, it is the paragraph one actually gave us an indication, if not information, on how products or products were made with reference to recycling. And the mention of the word recycling correlates with the rethinking what? Garbage. Now, paragraph 2, recycling has become a way of reducing the growth of mountains of waste in the world. Now, remember, we assessed the topic sentence. Now, here we are going to learn further about the impact of recycling. Now, the impact of recycling, as stated in the topic sentence, it is that it has managed to reduce the amount of waste in the world. Now, as we continue, the recycling of suitable material and the separation of waste into categories will not only relieve pressure on the planet, but also create employment and boost the economy. Now, from here, we are able to deduce the impact, if not the advantages of recycling. That ultimately we are going to create employment, and as a result, we are going to do what? Enhance, if not contribute towards the trajectory of building or boosting the economy. Now, in South Africa, now the writer again mentions what South Africa, which further support what was stated in the first paragraph, that the setting is indeed, if not, action is actually, if not, these are the events that are transpiring in South Africa. Now, we've got numbers now. 108 million tons of waste are generated every year. Now, once you see these numbers, we are going to look now, we know that this is what? Factual information. With 90%, not only are we having numbers here, but we're also having what percentages of this, about 17 billion worth of resources discarded on the land side. Now remember, from here, it is important that a comprehension will add facts to add what? Credibility to make the story how more believable. Now, what is the impact of these percentages and numbers? It is actually to enhance, if not to shine the light on the upscaling numbers on how waste is generated in South Africa. Now, Kate Stapelbos is the Director of Business Development and Marketing of at the recycling company. Now, why a mention of Kate Stubbs? Remember, we said that the character may be mentioned to add a human element. Now, not only is this person mentioned by name, but also his role or her role is mentioned that he or she is the Director of Business Development. Again, such mentions to add someone else's expertise on the subject that is being discussed. Again, it contributes to what adding of credibility to the comprehension to make it more believable. And marketing at the recycling company, Interwaste, she says that Johannesburg landfill site will run out of space in 10 years, and that South Africa is still far behind other countries when it comes to recycling. So what was presented in paragraph 2 was not only the advantage of recycling, but also the dangers of South Africa with regard to the cascading of waste, and to show that a quite number, or if not a high percentage of waste is being accumulated without being attended to, and ultimately we are going to run out of space. And this is the information that was said by Kate Stubbs. Why the inclusion of Kate Stubbs in this passage or in this paragraph is to add more credibility, because remember, she is the director. Now, in essence, it means that when you study a comprehension, you study meaning from each and every paragraph in such a way that when you get to the last paragraph, meaning of the entire passage will actually becomes easier for you to understand the purpose of the text. Remember, you study your prior knowledge based on the title. You study the topic sentence, which is the new information of the new sentence of the new paragraph, factual information, and also the impact of including factual information, time frame. Are we talking about current or past events or future events? And also why the use of percentage and why the mention of characters, not only to add a human element, but also if there are expertise or aspect in the subject, it also helps to intensify, if not to drive the point home, but most importantly to add what more credibility. And remember, at the end of the day, you need to incorporate the two skills of reading, if not the two methods of reading that are known as skimming and scanning. When you to skim and to scan is to ultimately read for meaning. At times you just read to grasp what the passage talks about, or to read quickly just to understand what that particular paragraph talks about. So you need to be combine the two methods in order to understand fully. So it is important to also assess the title, remember, because the examiners will always ask you to discuss the suitability of the title in relation to the context of the passage itself. Thank you so much for tuning in, and look out for more lessons. Thank you.